All right, everybody. By the way, just looked up and it has not changed since the last time I looked. So right now, the AZ300 and AZ301 will be around, will retire on or around September 30th, 2020. So if you are going for 300 and 301, you want to make sure that you hit both of those before that time frame. There you go, Jonathan. I think you were probably putting that question in as I was asking it. Right now, it's extended out to that point. They have not announced any further extensions beyond September 30th. I would not, on the one hand, I wouldn't be surprised if it was announced, but on the other hand, I think I certainly wouldn't count on it. I'll also say that, and this is one of the things that I have to do in the near future. I haven't taken the updated exams yet. I didn't, frankly, want to take them in beta because they change, and any guidance I could give people really wouldn't wouldn't necessarily be pertinent based on the beta. But I know from a content standpoint, there's really not massive difference. Probably, I think I figured it out. In terms of content for 303 and 304, I want to say it's about 15% new and about maybe 15% updated, just in terms of what would need to be covered. So, on the one hand, if you have vouchers that are explicitly for 300 and 301, then I would absolutely set the 30th as your target date, September 30th as your target date. Make sure you're absolutely covered by then. And then I think if you're not locked in on that and you're not comfortable with getting, thinking you'll be able to get both by September 30th, then I think, if you look at, hopefully in the relatively near future, we'll have the learning paths out and solid. The courses, by the way, for the AZ104, which is the admin, they're already out. We don't have the learning path because I haven't done the exam overview because I haven't taken it yet. But we do have the content out there, and it's not that terribly different. So again, huge kind of meandering answer on my part because it's Friday. September 30th, plan on that, but don't freak out about it. There you go. That's the too long didn't read. Okay, great question. So with companies like Measure Up for practice questions to study before you take a test, do you have a favorite or recommended provider of practice questions outside of INE? So I have traditionally used either Measure Up or Transcender. You have to be careful making sure that you are using a legitimate preparation company and not a brain dump. I think by and large, Measure Up does fine as long as it's used properly. And I think particularly now with us having quiz questions, and I will tell you, I strive to make my quiz questions very hard, just so you know. So, but I think between that and Measure Up, I think that's a pretty good combination. You have to understand with Measure Up, and I'm running through this because I'm getting ready for some exams. Sometimes they have answers that aren't right, but you just have to, again, kind of take it for what it is. Check the answer. Always read the explanation of the answer, and use it as a study tool as opposed to a measuring stick. All right, good question. Next question: is it necessary to learn Puppet/Ansible or programming languages like Python to be an effective Azure architect? All right, so good question. And the answer is mostly no. Okay. I would say that Ansible is, I mentioned earlier in terms of technologies that are truly hybrid cloud and work across. I think Ansible is one of those kind of universal technologies and systems that is worth knowing. But you certainly don't need to know a specific platform or language to be effective as an Azure architect. I think you should be familiar, with things like Node.js, certainly on the Azure side, C#, and Python is a good thing to have, but I wouldn't say they're necessary. The one thing that I would say is you should be able to script. Whether it's using PowerShell, Azure PowerShell, or the Azure CLI, you would need to know those. I would also say, and this is beyond the exam, although it's necessary for the exam as well, whether it is Azure templates, deployment templates, right, or possibly associated with Ansible or something like Terraform, understanding how to define your infrastructure, your services in a way that is deployable and repeatable is more important than knowing a particular language. So if I was like, hey, you need to learn one syntax, for Azure, for example. If you need to learn one syntax, what is it? So the first thing that you should learn is their template syntax. So mostly no, with a little tiny bit of yes as an answer to Jonathan's question. Oh, by the way, just because, dead air, I do want to round back just really quickly to Casey's question. One thing that I am committed to doing, and I haven't been great about so far, but I've recommitted to doing it, is I do want to, as we update content, I do want to go ahead and post that up on Twitter. So it's really just a cheap ploy to get you to follow me on Twitter, Tracy Wallace, INE, and I will always work to make sure that I've got our updates posted. All right. From Dimitru, and again, hopefully I just pronounced your name correctly. If we currently use basic availability group with multiple databases, when we will be moving to Azure, do we need to re-architect our databases, or is only SQL Enterprise version? So for failover and high availability, do we need to change something before moving to Azure? Great question. And the answer is, like everyone I've given so far, kind of a sort of answer. Here's the thing. In Azure, there are fundamentally, I guess now 3 different ways that you can host Azure databases. Okay, one is you can host databases on virtual machines, and by and large, if you wanted to replicate exactly what you've got with an availability group, you could do that within virtual machines. The second option that you have is managed instances, and managed instances are very much like an actual VM where you're managing everything. It's just that the rest is being managed by Azure. And I do think, and I'll look this up, I think there's something slightly strange about the way that works with availability groups. It's actually somewhat limited. All right. Then the third option is the really fully managed SQL database, right? So the Azure SQL database. Now, the really cool thing with Azure SQL database is that it is insanely easy to set up a geo-synchronized multi-instance database. And in fact, what you can do is you can set up geo replication of your database. And you can set it up currently. I think it's still limited to 4 locations. It's basically the same thing as an always on availability group. And then when you have geo replication set up for your database or databases, you can also set up a failover group. All right. And the failover group, like an always on availability group, which is I assume what you're talking about, it has its own fully qualified domain name, so its own DNS name. And it can fail over a group of databases. The only thing that's really different is that it does not have the option for automatic failover. Okay, so the answer is you could do it without re-architecting anything, just dropping them into virtual machines. However, I would strongly recommend taking a look at the Azure SQL databases and the geo-replication therein. With the failover group. I think you'll find it much easier to manage and certainly much easier to set up than availability groups on premises. What is the really reason limitation that you can route NFS out of the VPC? And secondly, on IPsec set up the tunnel that has a host IP address, how does the routing for the GRE work? I expected it to be 31 or 30, that you can't route NFS out of the VPC. All right, now, there is a fair bit to unpack with that. I'm not sure I'm following it 100%. When you say VPC, VPC is generally a VPC is generally a AWS nomenclature. That would be a virtual network, I assume is what you're referring to. And honestly, I will tell you both parts of this. I'm going to look up real quick because I'm not going to give you a full answer, but I am assuming that you're referring to a virtual network. And secondly, on IPsec, set up the tunnel has a host IP address. How does the routing for the GRE work? I expect it to be a 30 or a 31. Okay, so, and now here's where I may jump off to my Cisco brethren really quickly. All right, but let me formulate the right answer to that, okay? I'm going to answer that, Stephen, but I'm going to make you wait for both of those answers. Okay. Are there any labs including the INE training for Azure, or is it just PowerPoint and demos? So there are what we call tasks, and there are, I think, over 100 tasks. I'm not positive. I know it's over 70. I think it's over 100. There are a lot of tasks that are associated with our Azure training. Now, tasks are hands-on exercises. Every task has a task document, which is giving you a description of what needs to be done. It is not step-by-step. Basically, okay, you need to go out and you need to create a virtual machine with these settings. Here's the settings, go create it. And the idea being that we're not going to give you step-by-step, because you'll learn better. But each task also has a recorded solution. So if you do get stuck on one of our tasks, you can absolutely pull up the solution for that task. In fact, how about I just demonstrate that? And again, Stephen, this is an easier question to answer. I'm not ignoring your question, I promise. I will absolutely get back to that. In the meantime, I know this is not on your screen yet. Let's pull this in. Okay, this is our my.ine. If you're an INE student, you'd be familiar with this. If not, it's just really our classroom environment. Okay. Oh, hey. Sorry, I forgot we'd put that in there. Let's go and try and log in this time. There we go. Okay, let's go. Now, we don't have the latest update for the learning paths, but they're still I think useful. There's our learning paths. Okay. And let's go That one's no fun. Go Azure Administrator, Virtual Network Management. There I am. All right. Oh, interesting. They don't have the tasks up for this one yet. Whoops. Let's try that again. Go back to one of my older ones. All right. Dun, dun, dun. There we go, virtual machine management. Oh, actually, they do. I was just wrong. Okay, I forgot. So eventually, I was going to show you our interface, and I completely forgot how our interface works. So eventually, we're going to have tasks right here, but that is being built into our platform, and I honestly have no expectation as to when that will be completed. However, right now what we have is a PDF document, and that PDF document is under our course file. So there's a file that's got PDFs of all the slides, and then there's a separate file with PDFs of the tasks. And if we go in here, that's pretty impossible for you to see. There we go. We'll zoom up a little bit. Okay, but here I've got the different tasks, and each task has got the video it's associated with, so you can go and search for a video, or just look through here, and they're in order. And so I could go, all right, let's take a look at provisioning virtual machines advanced here. And it's going to tell you, okay, what we have, what you need to start, what are the requirements for this, what setup needs to be done. If there's setup, it's usually going to be running a script that deploys a template, okay? And then say, okay, the first requirement, you're going to provision a virtual machine, okay, with multiple networks. This is just an example. All right, and then add data disks and manage multiple disks in a virtual machine, right? And then clean up, you'll delete the whole thing. So those are the task descriptions. And then if we go to the bottom here, we've got video solutions for each one. So there's the provision virtual machines advanced. I hit play, and it's going to go through and give a video. I won't go through the whole thing, but it's going to go through a video solution of the task. Since I remembered, I'm now curious, since I remembered how it actually works, see if we have gotten it into the new ones yet. Nope, we still haven't gotten it in there. I actually will talk to our production people, because there are tasks for these as well. Okay. So there you go, a little bit of shameless plug of our platform, but we do have those. Now, as I said, Stephen, not going to just leave yours away, but I think part of it is that, well, anyways, I'm going to come back to you, but I'm not going to give you a partial answer. So I'm still here, just going to make sure I get my story straight before I give it out.